here's a picture of our family and Christmas of 2013 versus a picture of our family and Christmas of 2014. This is in Washington, where we planted and pastored for 10 years. And this is our first Christmas on the Big Island in Kona. Now, I want you to picture us wearing the shorts and the slippers and the t-shirt in the snow, or picture us wearing parkas and snow boots and snow bibs in the sand. It doesn't work, right? We'd be miserable if we were wearing the wrong thing. And let me tell you, when the irony here is, of course, we'd been pastoring in Seattle for 10 years, and it was only on year 10 that we finally, all of us had snow clothes, all of us had snow boots, all of us had snow gloves, every one of us had that. And then right after, I'm serious, I'm not joking, right after we had everything, we were ready for the snow, God said, I'm calling you to Kona. And we're like, what? What are we supposed to do? Yeah, you don't need that stuff anymore. But I did hold on to one thing. I did. And I held on to because this was just super expensive. So I held on to my North Face jacket. And, but how silly would it have been for me to go to Kona and be like, you know what, this cost me a lot of money. So I'm showing up, I got my shorts and I got my slippers, but I'm also wearing my double layered, North Face waterproof jacket. Right? It's a good way to lose weight, I guess. I'd be sweating a lot, but I'd also look absolutely ridiculous. Everyone would be like, oh, what's that guy? Oh, this Heli guy wearing his snow coat. Does he know where he is, right? What's wrong with this guy? What's wrong with him, right? And here I'm walking around with, my snow coat and stuff, but I paid a lot of money for this. Now what happened between that Christmas and that Christmas is we acclimated. Positionally, we went from Washington to Hawaii. So positionally, you go from sin to holiness. But practically, we had to acclimate. Over the course of time, what seemed like an oven, we just absolutely got used to. It's so funny because when we lived in Washington, when it would be like 50 degrees, but slightly sunny, all of a sudden everybody is out in their shorts and their slippers and their t-shirts. Right? When we went back to visit after having lived in Hawaii for a few years, when we went back to visit family, oh my gosh, everyone's walking around because it was sunny outside, but it's 50 degrees. And we're bundled up, I'm wearing this thing. And everyone else is looking at me like, what is wrong with you? It's a beautiful day out. And we were the same way. Why? Because we had acclimated to Hawaii now, and now we needed to reacclimate to Washington. Holiness is like that. You and I have to get used to acclimating to a different way of living, and here's what it looks like. It looks like you wearing a parka in paradise. You're gonna stick out. It's going to be uncomfortable. When you actually acclimate to living a life of holiness, you're that funny person that won't go out drinking after work and getting drunk and smashed. You're that weird person that comes to a Sunday morning service instead of sleeping in. You're that odd person that is deciding I'm not going to watch that or look at this pornography, or I'm not going to listen to that song because it's filled with all kinds of things that I don't want to separate me from my walk with the Lord. It's going to look as odd as a parka in paradise. I'm telling you this right now. When you and I acclimate to the holiness that God is calling us to, you're going to stick out. And if your goal is to look cool, to blend in, then you're chasing something else besides holiness. You're cherishing acceptance. You cherish people-pleasing. You cherish being accepted because you look like everybody else. But if you are acclimating to the holiness of God, you're always going to be the parka in paradise. You're always going to be the person that everyone's like, huh. Not to the point where you're being weird on purpose. Not to the point where you're walking around Speaking King James, thouest shalt knowest, I shall not goest, drinkingest with youest. No, please, don't be that person. You don't gotta walk around proving how holy you are by being extra weird. You're just gonna already be weird because you're not doing what the world is doing. Let that be enough. And then the world is gonna ask you why. And then that becomes your opportunity to go, hey, listen, I tried all of that before. I acclimated, I went with the flow, and it left me high and dry. But when I found God, I gotta tell you, there's no feeling in the world like being forgiven and free. There's no feeling in the world like knowing I don't have to earn my place into the presence of God. Even if the rest of the world thinks I'm a fruitcake, my God says I'm his son, and that's enough. That's enough. That's enough. And God has called all of us to make that choice.